Well, in part one, his sufferings, we saw how by revelation David was able to see through the eyes of Jesus 1,000 years before Jesus was even born. And he saw the incredible pain and suffering Jesus was going through. David felt the bite of the nails and the coarseness of the blood-soaked wood. He saw how he transitioned from wondering where God was to knowing full well that God was going to deliver him. He saw herds of evil men surrounding Jesus, herds of evil spirits surrounding Jesus and manipulating the people to perform unspeakable punishment and say unspeakable things directly to Jesus' face. He saw how Jesus worked through his problems by reciting the word and remembering what God had done for others. Side note. Now, what happens between verse 21 and 22 of Psalm 22 spans thousands of years, but is supposed to be fully understood by us today. And I don't want to say it too loud, but we call it the great mystery. Now, don't tell anybody. David didn't see it, and Jesus didn't see it. They just got glimpses of it. Just a flash out of the corner of the eye. Moving past the negatives. Now it's time to put aside the negatives of the past and move on to higher ground. This is what David this is what David saw was going on inside Jesus' mind. This is much bigger than me. It's much bigger than any one person, what Jesus was thinking. Now all of a sudden he has a whole different group in his mind. Verse 22, I will declare thy name unto my brethren. In the midst of the congregation will I praise thee. He sees himself getting up, getting delivered from this present situation. Remember Jonah? He was drowning. And within that 3-minute time, he prayed and he said, God, I'm going to worship you again in your holy temple. Yep. Blub, blub, blub. And that was it. Then what happened to Jonah 3 days and 3 nights later? God rose him from the dead. The fish vomited him out and he was risen from the dead. Jesus knew that he was a Christ type. He knew he was going to get up in 3 days and 3 nights. The cool thing is we're going to get up. The second you die is your last thought. And then after that, your next thought's going to be at least at the gathering together. That could be 1,000 years, could be 10,000 years, could be 100,000 years. Don't know. Could be 1 year. We don't know. But you ever fallen asleep so hard and then you woke up and it seems like 1 second? That's how it's going to be. And you know you're going to be totally healed at that point. And you're going to realize you're totally forgiven of even that thing that you did that time. You know, he's going to get up. He knows he's going to get up. David knows Jesus is going to get up. Imagine being able to hang on to knowing that everything is going to be okay. I mean, that's what we need to do. Everything is going to be okay, folks. No matter how messed up we've made our life or allowed our life to get. How many dogs and wild bulls of Bashan that have run through our heads. It's going to be okay. It can be okay. It can be okay soon. If not, it'll be okay in the future. It's going to be okay. 23. Ye that fear the Lord, praise him. All ye the seed of Jacob, glorify him and fear him. All ye the seed of Israel. For he that hath not despised nor abhorred the affliction of the afflicted, neither hath he hid his face from him. But when he cried unto him, he heard. Is God forsaken anybody there? He said, if you cry, he hears. So if you cry, does God hear? If you need to make more money, does he hear? If you need healing, does he hear? Yes. If you need attention, does he hear? Yes. This is a stark difference from verse 1, where he felt forsaken. Here it clearly shows the mature thinking of Jesus now. He shows that even in this bleak, painful situation, he knows that he's not forgotten by God. No more in here does he talk about pain. He just thinks of victory. Imagine if we could just hold on to that in our mind. Verse 25, my praise shall be of thee in the great congregation. I will pay my vows before them that fear him. The great congregation of thousands of years in the future, folks. Our future. After everyone's risen up and the devil and his wild bulls have tasted their second death, David, via the mind of the Messiah, saw deep into his and our future. Might have seen you walking around or flying. I don't know. Maybe then we'll have those flying cars that they promised us would happen in the new millennium. I don't know. It's a long way from feeling forsaken in verse 1, isn't it? Yes. There's always hope, always hope, always hope. We will all be healed from whatever we're sick from. We will all be made perfect. And we will all be together someday with the people who love us. And you're going to get to spend eternity with the people who you love and who love you. 26, the meek shall eat and be satisfied, and they shall praise the Lord that seek him. Your heart shall live forever. All the ends of the world shall remember and turn unto the Lord, and all the kindreds of the nations shall worship before thee. This is in the future. This is the future paradise Jesus spoke of to that one malefactor. Remember, he said, you're going to be with me in paradise? I wonder if David heard that too. Imagine. David may have seen and heard that exchange. I don't know. But he's talking about it here. The clearer you see your hope, the clearer you see your future, the easier it will be to handle your present situation. We have to think about that one again. The clearer you see your hope, the clearer you see your future, the easier it will be to handle your present situation. Verse 28, for the kingdom is the Lord's, and he is a governor among the nations. See, the devil will no longer at that time be able to manipulate people born of the seed of the serpent, wild bulls, lions, who turn to manipulate the feral dogs of the earth, which are many, who in turn try to make our lives miserable. And they do, folks. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. You have to get that through your thick head. I got to get it through my thick head. It's not because you're such a screw up. It's because we've been attacked. We can get past some of this stuff. See, the devil will not be able to do that someday. The devil's going to be gone someday. David saw it. Jesus knew it. And we too need that hope. Once Satan is taken out of the equation, then we will have paradise, and not until then. And you know you're going to have free will throughout eternity? You're still going to have the choice to do right or not, which I think is pretty cool. You're still going to be you. You're going to be fully you, but the best version of you. Not one that needs that cavity filled, or needs a new prescription. You see, verse 29, all they that be fat upon earth shall eat and worship. All they that go down to the dust shall bow before him, and none shall keep alive his own soul. I love that. I love it. We're all going to eat and worship, eat and worship, eat and worship. Eating is nothing more than fellowshipping around a meal. Isn't that what you enjoy the most usually? Almost all humans, that mealtime when you have your best loved friends or family there, those are the greatest times on earth. You wouldn't trade them for anything. You're going to have that for an eternity. And then that worship it's not a religious worship we're talking about. You see, that's not what we're talking about. It's not a religious worship. Worship is nothing more than directing the conversation back to God. It's giving credit where credit's due. That's all that's saying. You're going to be able to hang out and eat with the people who love you and who you love being around. And you're going to be thankful to God for that pleasure. That's all it is. It's not wearing a funny hat. You're not going to have to act like a religious fool. Or maybe that's what makes you happy. Maybe that's going to be your heaven. I don't know. I won't be hanging with you, you know. I'll be hanging with all of you guys. You see? And see, David saw it. And we need to see it too. God had to show him what his life was going to be like in the future, or he wouldn't have been able to keep his head together. Jesus, who for the joy that was set before him, remember that? Endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of God. Cool stuff. You see, verse 30, a seed shall serve him. It shall be accounted to the Lord for a generation. See, David caught a glimpse of a different looking group of people. These look different, and they move different. They have a sort of a swagger about them. You know, they seem like they have a closer. They're sort of like Christ. They're different. They're not like any kind of people I've ever seen before. I wonder who they could be. I think he saw you. I know he saw you. What an amazing revelation David had. What an amazing revelation he had. Could those self-same images keep us from going through some of our tough times? Help us get through them? Sure. If they can help the Christ stay focused, they can surely help us, head toward our ultimate victory. Verse 31, they shall come and shall declare his righteousness unto a people that shall be born. Didn't Jesus even mention this thing called a new birth to Nicodemus in John 3 early in his ministry? They all knew there was going to be something called a new birth. They knew there was going to be a group of people that weren't like them. The angels desired to look into it. Remember that? The prophets searched diligently to figure it out. And you get to live it, folks. Unless we allow the wild ox to control us, the dogs of this world to manipulate and to push us into corners, into fences, behind certain lines. It's mind-blowing, folks. You think David could live on that kind of revelation for a little while? You think it helped him in his ministry? The next psalm, Psalms 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. This rolls right into that, folks. This amazing song from Christ's perspective, this end-of-life flashback and flash forward ends with a tribute to our future. To our future, to our glory. You are so special, folks, that it was hid from generations. It was just a glimpse. These guys just got a glimpse of what we have available to us and the dominion that's available to us. You're written into the heart and the mind of the Son of God and his final thoughts. He thought about the future you, and his last thoughts were of you, and he was belting out this song. You are important. You're necessary. You are worthy, both now and throughout all eternity, no matter what that person told you about you. What a hope. What a vision. What a song. Today we saw that Jesus, what he thought of during those 6 hours when he was being crucified. We saw his progression of thinking from absolute belief of both his future and ours. And to me, that's flat out amazing. We saw him move from pain to great victory, from sufferings to glory. David saw the same thing through the eyes of the Christ. Psalm 22 helps us peer into Jesus' heart. That's what he was thinking about at the end. He was thinking about you. It makes us know him a little better. It makes us love him a little bit more. He's still working, folks. Life wasn't all about him and his troubles. It was for the first 21 verses, and then he turns it. And then it was all about you and your future. He literally saw the joy of us hanging out together, eating together, and talking with him and our loved ones about our amazing, amazing, amazing God, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, knowing that he was going to be set down at the right hand of God. And you're part of that joy, folks. You were part of that joy. You were part of his joy. You helped him get through it, folks. It's our hope too, folks. David saw it through Jesus' eyes. David heard it through Jesus' ears. David felt it. And the more you two can understand this and feel this, the easier it's going to be to get through the toughest days of your life. The closing statement of this psalm is so mind-blowing, I need to read it again. Verse 31. They shall come and they shall declare his righteousness unto a people that shall be born, and that he hath done this. And he hath done this is also translated in a few versions. It is finished. Everything that needed to be done was done by the Christ. He did everything he needed to do so that we can do everything we need to do. He did everything he needed to do so that we could have everything we need to have. He did everything he needed to do so that we could hang out with him forever and ever and ever. And just before Jesus died, he loudly blurts out this entire Psalm 22. He took his thought process from sufferings to glory, from misery to majesty. Jesus ended his life with a victory song that included a great victory for us. Moments before he gave up his life, his final thoughts that included you and me were the closing words of Psalm 22. It is finished. He went from his sufferings to give us glory. That's his victory song. That's Psalm 22. It is finished. God bless.